Guys, today we're going to take a look at things that you were not expecting to see. So how many of you remember what Wuchi's most recent buff was? I'm willing to bet most of you don't remember what Wuchi's most recent buff was because he's a Nat 4. He's not a unit that too many people use too often. He's generally considered a unit that people used to use for TOA and TOA hard back in the day, but no one really pays attention to him. Even though he got the buff, no one was really paying attention to the buff either. Wuchi, with his third skill, now since the buff, it wasn't even a very recent buff. It was a buff from like, I think a year ago, something like that. So Wuchi, well, you just saw it right there. It decreases the cooldown. He decreases the attack gauge of the enemy team, and then he decreases the cooldown of his allies, kind of like what Mav does. So, deny turns for the enemy team, and then increase your cooldowns. Decrease your cooldowns, so Shengpeng is even more toxic. Now, I mean, it works really, really well if you're going up against an all-water team. I'm not sure why exactly his opponent opted for a full water team. I mean, they started by picking 2 waters, so of course, picking a bunch of wind units is going to be super strong into that. But, yeah, it works really, really nicely in a combination with Shengpeng right here because just decrease attack age, increase cooldowns, decrease cooldowns of his team. It's just, it makes Shengpeng the most toxic. I know he was already the most toxic unit in the world, but it just makes him just one level more toxic because he just almost doesn't have cooldowns at that point. You guys thought we were just going to take a look at the wind one, right? No, we're going to take a look at the water one as well. The water one, if you guys don't know what the water one does, he's got the skill one, the same skill one, glancing hit, attack, power, break. Skill 2 is a very nice combination with the fire fairy, actually, because she will strip. Actually, she's on despair, looks like. So she will strip and then... Actually, she didn't even slow, did she? She didn't strip slow. Well, she's supposed to strip slow everything, and then he's going to come in and he's going to stun everything that is under the slow effect. And then he also has the third skill that is a multi-hit. It now has a... I say now, it's not like a recent buff, but it does do, if you guys are coming back to the game after being gone for a while or whatever, or just weren't paying attention for the buff, it does a strip. It does a strip into a defense break and multiple hits. So, also one of the nice things about these guys is it's super easy to skill them up. They're 4 stars, but they require 3-star skill ups, and they're actually pretty usable. I wouldn't say that I would use Gildong everywhere in RTA. I would use him in, and I actually do. He's pretty decent in Guild Siege. Wouldn't really say RTA, but this comp actually works pretty decently with him. This next match, the King of RNG, Reno, the Water Dice Magician. So Reno actually can do more damage than Lucian. His multipliers are better than Lucian. However, it is conditional on number 1, the dice being high rolls, and then number 2, the dice being the same number. So he only ignores defense if the dice are the same number. Let's see. I feel like the enemies are low enough on HP. He does get a decent amount of ignore defense there, but the enemies were low enough on HP. I feel like he would have done pretty decently even if he did not get all those ignore... Wait, he didn't... All those ignore, he got 2 ignore defense. I feel like he still would have done pretty decently there because the enemies were already low on HP. But yeah, Reno potentially nukes harder than Lucian if he gets the ignore defense. Speaking of ridiculous comps, this next comp, I have no idea. I have never seen this before. So it's a Gemini, Clara, Fanaka, Reno, Kaki comp. This is the first time I've seen this comp. Congratulations. You're showing me something new today. So, super fast. Outsped, I assume that the Wusa's on just Violent Will, but still everything outsped. Everything was super duper fast. Outsped everything on the enemy team, even with 118 base speed on the Wusa. Also, ignored defense quite a decent amount. He didn't get, like, sometimes he just doesn't ignore any defense, the Reno. He did glance on those 2 wind units because they're wind units and he's a water unit. But the Fanaka, they're going to hit the Fanaka, and then Fanaka's going to increase their cooldowns, and the Ladril can't really do anything. And then the Kaki was just going to finish them off one by one. It's super easy for Kaki to take down Feng Yan and Ladril. First few picks, fairly straightforward enough until we get to the last pick, which is, of course, a sigmarus, a unit that many people don't really consider an RTA unit. However, if it wins, why'd they go for the AoE on that? AoE on 3 units with AoE defense break on 3 units with Wolverines and 1 that's a fire unit that's probably not going to take the defense break and instead just revenge. It is C1, so maybe that's the reason behind the AoE defense break. But yeah, okay. So a lot of things not on Wolverines now. And gets the AoE CC. You know, I mean, here's the thing though. sigmarus generally not considered an RTA unit. However, in this instance, he's going up against 3 fire units and a water unit. He needs the CC. He does some damage. Sigmarus doesn't have great tanky stats though. So that's one of the downsides to Sigmarus. But in this instance, as weird as Sigmarus, it looks like to see Sigmarus in RTA, it actually made sense to pick the Sigmarus there. Again, weird as it is to see him, but, you know, he works in the same situation of, like, something like Varad or Pontos. Not Pontos. Poseidon. Pontos. Lols. But, yeah, he was effective. The enemy had no immunity, aside from the one that he banned out, and had a bunch of fire and water units, so there you go. What about a G1 first pick Romahan? Is that crazy enough for you guys for this video? So G1 first pick Romahan going up against the Gianna, Ciara, Hey Gang. Let's see what winds up happening here. Bans out the Vanessa, bans out the Water Joker. Let's see. The Immensity gets outsped by the Gianna. Okay, I'm assuming if it's a Gianna owner, they're going to have super plenty of rune pack purchases. 40,000 damage, no defense break. He insta-nuked. So he gets another turn if he kills the target, right? So then he goes for a skill. So he was on Violent Runes too. He was not on Rage, he was on Violent Runes. Again, third skill does big damage, gets another turn if it kills the target, but after he did the defense break, he got another turn from the Violent Runes after that. So this guy's doing 40k damage, no defense break. 40k damage. Holy crap. That is a lot of... Wow, we don't give this guy enough credit. 40k damage. Absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Gianna owner's not very happy about that. He's like, I spent the money for the packs. I got killed by a wind wolf. A wind Inugami, guys. Next unit is actually a unit that a handful of people are using. It's not just like one person is using Lexi. A handful of people are using Lexi. Lexi is really nice to take into teams where the enemies have heals that can't really be helped, right? Like Lulu, like Juno, like Riley, like Molly, things where it's like they can't really help. They're gonna heal, they're gonna heal, they're gonna heal, they're gonna heal. It's gonna keep stacking Lexi regardless. So what Lexi does is she's got two parts to her passive. Her first part is it decreases all the healing of all monsters on the battlefield, every monster on the battlefield, by 50%. Also, if you see the stacks, I think she might have 10 by now. For every heal on the enemy side, it is going to stack her, give her 1 stack. When she gets up to 10 stacks, her next hit is going to ignore defense. Wait, that was not 10 stacks, was it? I don't think she was at 10. Yeah, okay, now she's at 10. Now she's at 10. So I was like, that didn't do enough damage for that to be ignore defense. So people running her as a bruiser, though. That's why you see she's actually able to take some decent damage without dying. So let's see how much damage she winds up doing. Again, she is bruiser. Just obliterates Juno. So fast. So fast, so furious. But you see, that even as a bruiser build, even without an attack power buff, she still does. Her damage multiplier is actually pretty high. Also, her speed is pretty high, too. She's got a defense break skill 1. She's got a brand new silence skill 2. But just her damage multiplier is so high once she actually stacks up all those stacks. She's not a unit that you can pick into every team, but against things like, for example, Riley is a great opportunity to pick her into as long as the enemy doesn't have enough stuff to take out Lexi super fast. It's really nice to take her into things where the enemy can't help but heal. They just got so much heals, and it's passive things and they have nothing, or passive things or heal with skill 1 where they really can't control how much they heal. This next one is just crazy. So opponent on the right hand side is picking just a bunch of nasty LD stuff. Opponent on the left hand side, he's picking Geldnir, he's picking El Sharon, he picks the Wind Drunken Master too. Comp, you wouldn't really say like, oh yeah, these are the right picks for this situation. I'm gonna go up against the Nyx, I'm gonna go up against the Gianna, the Bastet, the CR, all that stuff. I'm gonna bring El Sharon, I'm gonna bring Keldnir, I'm gonna bring Juan, the Wind Drunken Master. He's got the one more drink, which is the crit resist. Crit resist and a heal. He's got a heal on skill 3 as well, and then he has a skill 1 that has a attack power break and an ignore defense. The damage multipliers aren't that crazy on skill 1. Damage multipliers on skill 1s aren't usually that crazy. A couple of units do have pretty good ones, but Juan doesn't have a crazy ignore defense. Like right there, he did some ignore defense, but it's not that crazy. Also, he's probably on a tanky build. He's probably not on a damage dealing build. But still, it does do ignore defense, which is pretty nice. It's pretty nice pure damage. So had enough tankiness just between the Juan, between the Elsharion stealing a couple buffs here and there, and the Geldnir, it's more of a Geldnir showcase. It's just crazy that this person took a Wind Drunken Master and an Elsharion and a Geldnir, which people usually don't think of, like, okay, I'm gonna counter a Gianna, Nyx, Hey Gang, Ciara Best. They don't think of, like, I'm gonna counter it with a Wind Drunken Master, Elsharion, and Geldnir, but this person did, and they wound up winning. So most people just wind up like, oh, I'm going up against the Nyx, Ciara, Gianna. Okay, I'm just going to exit out the match. I don't really want to play this. I'm not going to win. I'm sure you guys remember at the very beginning of the video where we took a look at Reno, the Water Dice Magician. Now we're coming full circle. We're taking a look at Monty, the Dark Dice Magician. He is a unit very similar to Molong and Ikari's, as you see here that he's being used as Molong and Ikari's. He does damage based on the enemies. Actually, he doesn't do damage that's based on the enemy's HP. He does HP rebalancing based on the lower number on the dice. So you see he's a nice 2-hit combo with Molong or with Ikari. So they couldn't ban out everything. They had to ban out either the Molong or the Ikaris or the Monty. They wound up not banning any of those out, and they did all this different HP based damage. The nice thing about Monty is still RNG, and his leader skill is resistance, so that's just even more RNG. But the nice thing about Monty is that he doesn't do any damage to himself when he does his third skill, and also he can keep proccing. If you put him on violent, he keeps getting additional turns with violent, and then resetting the violent counter with rolling the same number on the dice. If he gets rolled the same number on the dice over and over and over again, he can be somewhat resistant, like kind of a soft resistance to things like Shungpung, which will reset him, of course. But if he keeps getting the additional turns from rolling the same number on dice, he can get his third skill back. He does not have the HP leader skill. He does not have the same base HP as the Molong, but he is another viable option, especially if you don't have something like Ikari's. But anyway, that's it for this one. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I will see you as always in the next one.